Good morning. So my name is Mike Love. I'm a part of the preaching team here at Momentum.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My name is Lauren Love,
Falling apart.
and I am our student ministry director. So,
Yes.
Thank you.
So we were just told to make sure that act like we like each other and stand closer together. My response can characterize a little bit of our marriage and some challenges I might present with us is that I said, I'm not standing behind that thing, and I meant this. I meant this.
It got misconstrued.
It did. So I like to move around. I'm a mover. So Lauren and I, we have been married for 11 years, and we have two boys, Luke and James, you'll see running around in Mo Kids, the curly blonde hair, dinosaur shirts, donuts on their face.
Probably won't talk to you. Sorry.
Yeah. You can guess after this which one they take after with that, so you'll see in a minute. But Lauren and I have realized that we are very different in how we relate to people. For me, I'm an introvert. I love being just around my family or myself, just relaxing, quiet. I love that, whereas Lauren is an extrovert, and she loves being around people, loves to connect with other people. So early in our marriage, we saw a movie, and I saw right away, like, this is our marriage in a nutshell. So we'll show that clip really quick. So as any other adult male, I represent Princess Elsa, and I don't want people. Lauren's pumped. She wants people over. She's excited.
We've got salad plates.
Yes. I like to believe looking for a little less romance from the guests.
Yes,
but,
I had already found that.
But I remind myself of Princess Elsa, and if that's not tough enough for you, maybe like a young Luke Dane from Gilmore Girls, whatever it is, I want to be alone, like I'm comfortable, by myself. I like that peace and quiet, whereas Lauren is very different with that.
Yeah, I enjoy a party. I like a celebration. I enjoy getting together with my family and friends. When we get an invitation in the mail for like a wedding or a party, I'm like, yes! And I put it on the refrigerator and mark it on the calendar. I'm like, this will be so fun. And Mike's like, And then if he finds out that it's on the day of a football game, college, NFL, it doesn't matter who's playing. Like, it could be like Ball State. He's like, whatever. He is like, why would they ever schedule a party during a football game? Like, what are they thinking? And then I have to hear about it the entire way to the party, the entire way leading up to the party. So, yeah, that's how we approach get-togethers.
And I love my kids for many reasons, but one of my favorites is they get me out of a lot of stuff, a lot of events. I appreciate that. A well-timed illness isn't always a bad thing. For the last 2 weeks, Dan has been asking the question of who cares? Who cares when good things are happening in your life? Who's there to support you? Who's there to give you a high five and to celebrate with you? But also, who cares when the bad things happen too? Who's there to just help you up? Who's there to support you, to encourage you? Who are those people? And through the last 2 weeks, Dan has talked about the answer. That is that Mo Church, that we care for you here. And a big way that we do that is through our Mo groups. And what Mo groups are, they're groups of about 10 to 12 people. We meet in people's houses. And what happens is we laugh, we play games. We either share a meal or a snack together, but we also talk about usually the sermon from Sunday. We talk about the lessons. We talk about what Dan had to say. We talk about the Bible verses and different things like that, and really how it applies to our lives and what we do moving forward from that.
Yeah, Mo groups are something I would say I look forward to going to Mo group every week. There's a lot of aspects of Mo group that really speak to my personality. Obviously, the extroverted, being able to talk and chat and play games and eat together, like that's a big part. But I also have some introverted parts of my personality where I really love deep conversation. I like to talk about the Bible. I like to talk about spiritual things, history. I like to be a nerd. I like to do all these things, and Mo group provides those sorts of opportunities for me. So I get pretty excited about going to a Mo group.
Yeah, and for me, a slightly different take on like what Dan's been asking with who cares is Lauren's excited about going to Mo groups. She's pumped about setting the schedule up and different things like that. And to me, it's like, who cares? Who cares about adding something else? Who cares about adding something to my calendar? Who cares? I'm good being alone.
Yeah, this is a really easy trap for us to fall into. And I get it. I can understand because we all tend to be overscheduled. And the idea of committing something else to our plate doesn't always seem like a very promising situation, and it's a struggle sometimes. But I will tell you, I've experienced firsthand what it looks like to see God work through small groups. I grew up going to church, and so I've been a part of small groups, Mo groups, whatever name they had throughout the years. I've been a part of something like that through my entire life, through my childhood and my teen years. And I can speak from personal experience on the impact that those groups have had, especially during my teen years when I had friends around me who believed the same things that I did and thought the same things that I did. And I was able to rely on them and be encouraged by them. And so when it was hard to do things that following Jesus wanted me to do, it wasn't as hard when I had those people around me. And so I really, really learned from that throughout my life. And then also now, where I'm at in my life right now, I am a stay-at-home / work-from-home mom. So I spend a lot of my days talking about dinosaurs. A lot. Acting like them, roaring like them, watching others roar and act like them, reading about them. You get it. So I spend a lot of time doing that. And I love the opportunity to talk to grown-ups about something other than dinosaurs and the like. So it can be isolating to work from home and stay at home with your kids, and being able to be a part of a spiritual community is vital to me where I'm at in my life right now.
And I will say, as much as I talk about wanting to be alone and what comes with that, is I will say a huge difference, a huge impact in my life was made by connecting with other people. You know, I think back to when I first became a follower of Jesus or a Christian, when that first was something that I wanted to do, is because I was at a camp. And what happened at the camp is there'd be like a presentation, like a big group, kind of like this. But then we'd break off into like our cabins. You'd have cabin time. You'd talk about, well, what did that message mean to you? And at that time, that was one of the first times I remember having guys like similar to my age talk to me and really invest in me and really encourage me, not because I was good at something or not because, I did something great, but because they just cared about me. They just wanted to support me. And having that type of group, having that type of mentality was something that's like, man, I want more of that. That felt great, and I wanted that, and that's what kind of really got me to invest in going to different groups, and that was huge for me. Now, what also stands out is I'm not unique, and that God has used people to help other people just throughout time and throughout the Bible and throughout all of our lives. I'm going to tell a story from Acts chapter 9, and I'm not going to read the whole story. You can check it out. But in Acts chapter 9, this takes place after Jesus is killed on the cross and after he's resurrected. And there's a guy named Saul. And Saul is going around, and he's going after other followers of Jesus. Like, he's going after Christians. He doesn't like them. He wants them out. He wants them gone. So what he's doing in this story is he's going to a place called Damascus. And as on his way there, again, to go after Christians, he is blinded by this light. And he falls to his knees, and he hears the voice of Jesus. And Jesus says, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Why are you going after me? Why are you attacking my followers? And Saul, he can't see anything. And Jesus continues to go on and says, go to Damascus, and someone will meet you there. So no one else hears this. His buddies don't hear it, but they help Saul up. Now he can't see, and he goes to Damascus. And right around that same time, a guy in Damascus who is a follower of Jesus named Ananias, he gets a message from God. And in his vision, God tells him, hey, go find this Saul guy. You're going to pray for him. You're going to help him. And Ananias is like, wait a second, God, I know who this is. This is a guy who's going after Christians. He's going to hurt me. He's scared. He's nervous about doing it. But God tells him to go, and Ananias goes. It's just a normal guy. And he goes to Saul. He prays with Saul. And eventually Saul decides, yep, I want to follow Jesus. He gets baptized. He can see now. Everything's good. Then Saul starts working with the other followers of Jesus that are there. And the people in the community, they're like, wait a second, this guy, he shouldn't be doing this. Let's get him out. So now the tables are turned, and they want Saul to go away. They're persecuting him. And it's these other followers of Jesus. They take Saul, they hide him, and they get him out. They get him to Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, the other followers of Jesus, they decide, hey, we don't really trust this guy. We know what he's done, so he doesn't fit in anywhere. But there's a guy by the name of Barnabas, just a normal guy, an imperfect guy, and he can vouch for Saul. And he says, no, I know what you've heard. I know these different things, but he's with us now. He's good to go. And they let him in. They let him join their group. And what strikes me about this story and these different interactions, these are just normal people that were helping Saul out. And God didn't need to use these people, right? He sends a vision to Saul. He blinds him. He could have snapped his finger and said, hey, you're going to be a follower of Jesus now. You're going to follow me. You're going to be fine. Go do these things. He didn't need to send these other people to protect Saul. He could have just protected him. But he did. He used these other people. He didn't need Barnabas to help Saul. He could have done it on his own. He could have done a different thing, could have snapped his fingers, done whatever he wanted to. But he did. He used these other people to help Saul. And what strikes me about that, for whatever reason, is God wants to include us in helping people. God wants to include us on the journeys that people are going through, even though he doesn't need to. God wants us to love one another, support one another, encourage one another, and just help one another as we go through this life. And there's countless examples of that.
Yeah, so if we go back to this question of who cares about this enough to add another commitment to my plate, I just want to tell you that I have been actively going to a Mo group since I started attending Momentum in 2006. And I have seen firsthand Mo groups and the people in Mo groups used to help one another, to care for one another in so many ways. I've had members of my Mo group, an older couple who took in a younger woman who was in our group because she was just going through a hard time and she needed support. And so they let her live with them for a while, which was amazing. I've seen groups of people being brought meals and being able to have comfort through a meal during hard times, funerals, when babies are born.
We had our second child just so Laura Frazier would make us another meal.
Laura Frazier makes a delicious meal.
Yes.
Okay, so just put that in your memory banks right there. But even just people, we had someone in our group who's experiencing, financial hardship, and they were able to gather up enough money to support their bills for a while, just to help them out in that season. I've had members of our group where there was a child in the hospital right around the holidays, and the parents were kind of panicking because they're like, we don't even have any Christmas gifts for our kids. Like, we don't know what we're going to do. And so they, someone from the group came and stayed at the hospital with the kids while the parents went out and got everything ready for the holidays and did their shopping. I've had someone in our group who was faced with the prospect they needed to buy a car. And they were like, I don't even know anything about this. So another person in our group stepped up to be like, I'll help you through the process. And I don't know about you guys, I hate buying a car. It might be one of the top 5 things that I hate the most. It's stressful. It's annoying. I don't like it. It's big purchases. My dad, on the other hand, he loves it. He's all like, let's buy a car. Let's negotiate. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. But those are the types of things that our Mo groups have been able to do to support each other and to help each other. In Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 12, it says, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. See, we need people to help us up. We need people to make us stronger.
Yeah, and our Mo group has done that for us. We needed helped up in countless times, but I can think of one specific. Before we had Luke and James, we did go through a series of miscarriages. And that was really difficult, and it was definitely different for the 2 of us. For me, I didn't really feel like I could talk to anyone about it, because Lauren experienced it different. Like, Lauren had the baby inside of her, right? So I didn't want to share with her how sad or upset I was, because I didn't want her to feel like I was blaming her, I was upset with her, which isn't true at all, but still in my mind, how that worked. So I felt like I couldn't share that with anyone. So you just bottle up the frustration, you bottle up the anger, the jealousy, all those different things, and you don't know what to do with it. But we kept going to Mo group. We kept going. We kept saying, we're going to be there. Even though at the time, I would say I was pretty frustrated with God and just angry in general. But at that group, I remember we would break off, and we do this occasionally, where like the guys would go in one room, the ladies would go in another group, and we would just talk. We'd talk about how things were going, what was going on in our lives, and I shared how I was feeling and what was happening. And while not everyone in the group had that same specific story, they were able to share their own stories, their own challenges and their own struggles and what happened for them. And for me, that was huge. But what also was huge is they would pray for me, they'd support me, they'd encourage me, and they were just there to listen. But then what was great is it didn't end after our Monday night Mo group, right? Like the texts would come throughout the week where I'd get these encouraging messages, or on Sunday morning they'd be here to greet me with maybe a funny story just to make me laugh or whatever it was, and I felt that support. We needed those people to help us. We needed those people to pick us up, and they did.
Yeah, we've talked a lot over the past 2 weeks and a little bit today about how Mo groups are a great way for us to care for one another, to help one another, to celebrate with each other. So when we ask that question again, like, who cares if I come to a Mo group or not, We've talked about Mo Church cares. We care about each other. Because, yes, we want people to be loved and cared for. But on top of that, in addition to that, we also want you to win spiritually. And we will tell you that being a part of a spiritual community, it's vital to winning spiritually. You know, spiritual communities, they are there to care for you, to rally for you, to celebrate with you. Yes, all of that is true. But I also want you to recognize that they are also there for you in the everyday. And that everyday move forward to having a relationship with God, they're there to help with that too. You know, because I'm not going to lie, I know that there are some people, myself included, have felt like this sometimes, where it's like, you know what, I have a pretty good support network. You know, I'm blessed with that. I have family that lives close to me. I have a great group of friends. I have people who I could call on at a moment's notice to take my kids if something were to happen. Like, I have that support network. And so it can be easy if you have also felt like, I've got that already in my life. Like, I have those people. I'm blessed to have family near me. So, you know what? I think Mo groups are more for those people who need support. Mo groups are more for those people who need to have someone with them when they need celebrated or when they need helped up. And I don't really need that. So, I'm good. I'm all right. I got a challenge for you. Who cares if you come to a Mo group or not? Well, first of all, the person who you can help cares if you come to a Mo group or not. The person who you can provide support for when they're going through a crisis. The person who's going to knock on your door and ask, can you please take my kids? Something terrible has happened and I need your help. Those people care whether or not you come to a Mo group. Because God can use ordinary people to play a huge role in the lives of others. We've seen that. Second of all, God cares. And one of the reasons why he cares is because a strong Christian community is so vital to your growth in relationship with God. Because when you have friends who also love Jesus, you will move closer to Jesus as well. It is a really important piece. We live in a society, we're so connected. We're more connected than ever. But there is a growing fear, and not just in the church, but just in society in general, that even though we have these ways to connect with each other that are so prevalent, we're not actually connecting with one another. You know, there's a prominent sociologist named Sherry Turkle, and she wrote a book called Alone Together. And there's a quote from that book that says, "We are lonely, but fearful of intimacy. Digital connections and the sociable robot may offer the illusion of companionship without the demands of friendship. Our networked life allows us to hide from each other, even as we are tethered to each other. We'd rather text than talk." Isn't this so true, though, about a lot of us? I was especially struck by the phrase, that idea that you could connect with people without the demands of friendship. No, you could sit on your cozy brown chair, like me, and scroll through mindlessly, and no one ever asks you of anything. You don't have to be there for anybody. You don't have to go out of your comfort zone. You don't even have to get up off your chair. You can see nice pictures of people with their kids on their first day of school or their vacations, and you can say, oh, that's nice. I'm glad that they did that. That's fun. But you don't have to do anything. And I think that that is true of our society, and it can be true of us, where we can have connection that's not real connection. And we're not actually connecting with each other in a meaningful way.
And no matter your personality type, introverts, extroverts, somewhere in between, whatever it is, it can become very easily to isolate yourself and just separate yourself from everyone. For an extrovert, it can be easy to say, yep, I'm going to that group, I'm doing this thing, I'm doing all these different things, but you never open up. You never share, you never express that vulnerability, you never are honest there. For an introvert, again, it's easy just to not to show up, and just to stay home. It's easy to do those different things and isolate ourselves. Maybe, and there's lots of different reasons, maybe it's because you're embarrassed. You feel like, man, if they really knew what I was doing, or if they really knew my past, they wouldn't want me there. It's easy to believe that. It's easy to kind of conjure up these feelings in your head that they don't like you and that there's kind of strife or conflict between you. Like, I can't believe they looked at me that way or they said that about me. And it's easy for that to keep us away. It's easy to become overscheduled or too busy. It's easy to go through a really difficult time and just say, not right now. I'm not going right now. Things are too challenging. Things are too tough. I just can't have something else. Sometimes it can be our pride. It can be our pride that says, yeah, I'm good with what I think. I'm good with where I'm at. I don't want to go somewhere that might challenge that. Or I've been going Momentum for a while. I don't need a group. That's for the beginners. Or whatever it is, it's really easy to think those thoughts and decide, it's not for me, and to just become isolated.
Yeah, and there's danger in this. There's danger in being isolated because when we're alone, we are vulnerable to deceptive thinking. You know, there is no one around you who can speak good judgment into your life. There's nobody around you who can speak wisdom into your life because you're purposely putting up walls. You know, in Jeremiah 17:9, it says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" And I think that is definitely true. You know, we can justify our own behaviors to ourselves any way that we want. And that's especially easy to do when you're alone, because nobody's challenging that. And so you could sit there, and your heart is deceitful. It can make you think things that aren't actually the truth. And having people around you who can encourage you, who can speak truth to you, is so important. There's an article titled "Me, Myself, and Lies," and it's by an author named Marshall Segal. And he explains it like this. He says, "Whenever we isolate ourselves from the perspective, encouragement, and exhortation of others, we open ourselves wide to the deceitfulness of sin." And why is the deceitfulness of sin so compelling? Because Satan studies and preys on our desires. He's a master gardener, carefully seeding selfishness, discontentment, and bitterness in just the right places. When we're alone, we are giving a foothold. We are giving an easier opportunity for Satan to seed those things in our lives that are going to make it harder for us to follow Jesus. It's going to happen. It'll be there when you are isolating yourself, when you are putting those walls up around yourself. You are closing yourself off to not just truth, not just wisdom, but encouragement. And from all those ways that we've described previously, that people can care for you. So what helps us stay on a path that is following God? Having people in your life that are leading you back to that path, encouraging you and giving you wise counsel. That's what's important.
And Mo groups aren't just for those big moments either. They're for just times to learn, times to grow in our faith. It says in Proverbs 27:17, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." You know, Mo groups make us stronger by helping us to form these strong friendships and that you can really learn from. That's why the beginning of a Mo group where you're laughing and playing games, where you're sharing a meal or a snack together, that's why that's so important, because a lot of times that's where you can really connect. That's where you can really meet someone else and say, yeah, we could be friends. Also, too, it allows you to hear someone else's perspective. What I love about Momentum, I look around and I see the diversity. I see the different upbringings, the different thoughts, the different stories that we have. At a Mo group, you get to hear those different perspectives. You get to learn from someone else. For me, I can only look at my viewpoint, but from going to a Mo group, I can learn from other people, and I can start to see things the way they see them, and that makes me stronger. It makes me better and more equipped to handle different challenges. And so often we can learn from those different stories. It may not be your story, but man, we can take things from it. Mo groups also give us a time to ask questions. You know, on Sunday mornings, you don't really get a time to interact with the sermon. But at a Mo group, you can. You can ask, well, what did Dan mean when he said this? Or what's the Bible mean when we read this? And different things like that. You can ask those questions, and it's good. It's good to connect with each other and to kind of think those things through. Mo groups can also be that place where you find someone that can really push you, that can really challenge you in different ways. You know, Dan talked earlier this year about giving someone a hunting license, meaning allowing someone to ask you those really difficult questions that maybe you don't really want to be asked. But it helps you because it helps you to grow and really to kind of get through those challenges. It's also hard to be that person that asks those questions, right? Because those are often not fun questions to ask. But it shows how much you care about that other person, that you're willing to kind of dig deep in their lives and really willing to help someone else. Those bonds that you form, they happen in Mo groups. It happens when Mo groups care about you.
Yeah, I truly believe that the power of spiritual relationships is highlighted by the fact that they are often attacked. They are so often attacked because there is life-giving power in those relationships. And I do feel like Satan knows that, and he's going to prey on those relationships because of what they can bring to you and your relationship with God. In 1 Peter 5:8, it says, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around looking like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." This is really intense imagery, right? And in fact, though, this is actually how lions hunt in the wild. And you'll be wondering, that doesn't sound like something Lauren would know, and you're right, I wouldn't, except for the fact that my kids are obsessed with animals. So I have spent many, many, many hours reading, probably hundreds of books by this point, about insects and birds and animals and dinosaurs, all sorts of different things. In fact, when we go to the library, I'm always like looking, like, look, it's a cute book about the first day of school. And Luke runs up to me and he's like, it's about mosquitoes. Cool, 55 pages about mosquitoes. Let's read it. So, yes, I've learned a lot about the animal kingdom over the years.
I found a great book last time we were there. It was called Butts versus Faces for Animals. But Luke wasn't nonfiction enough for Luke.
Yeah, he was like, I don't think this
too
is
deep.
scientifically
Yeah.
accurate, Dad. We're not going to read that one. Yes, so this is how I've learned about the animal kingdom, so to speak. But anyways, this is how lions attack. When a lion pride wants to attack its prey, which is typically antelope, what they have to do is they have to usually isolate the antelope, because a lion is actually a pretty lazy animal. They sleep for like 23 hours a day, which is pretty impressive for that lion. But so they're like, okay, I've got 1 hour. I got to make this count. Like, we got to find dinner. So the lion pride will approach an antelope herd, and antelopes are faster than a lion, and they can also run longer distances than a lion. They're like Brandon Guerin, like out there on the cross-country court. So court? I said court. Do I even know where cross-country runners run? Not on a court.
I'm a little upset you didn't use me as an example.
Oh,
I'm also
yeah.
a runner.
It's true. Sorry. But if a lion wants to attack an antelope, because it's not as fast and because it cannot run for as long, it has to isolate one antelope from the herd so that lion or the lion pride can eat the antelope. And that is exactly the picture, the metaphor for what it looks like when you are alone spiritually. If Satan wants to pull you down into the depths of whatever is going on and swirling around in your head, the best way to do that is to pull you away from your support. Pull you away from the people who are going to speak truth for you. Pull you away from the people who are going to encourage you, because that's where the life-giving power can come from. And so how can you be more attacked spiritually? By being isolated from your spiritual community. And I would also tell you that if you are isolating yourself from the church community, not only can that have impact on you personally, it also impacts the church, because the church itself can actually be weakened when we isolate ourselves. You know, the church community is compared to a body in the Bible, you know, each part serving a purpose, and it is essential to survival. In 1 Corinthians 12, verses 12 through 14, it says, "Just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many." It's this idea that it doesn't matter where we come from. We all come from different places, and we all come with different things to bring. But when we are all united as a family of believers, we are like a body. And each of us serves a crucial part. You know, it goes on later to say in 1 Corinthians, like, the eye's not going to look at the arm and be like, what purpose do you serve, right? Or vice versa. Because every part of the body serves its own purpose. And that's true of us and our involvement in a church community. Because if you take away your part, you isolate yourself from other believers, you're weakening what the church can do in its mission to tell people about Jesus and who he is and what he did for us on the cross. You play a role. You have a purpose. You are important to the mission that we have as a church, because we are all one body and we all work together, and everyone has something to bring to the table.
And God uses people to carry out his plans. You know, we saw it with Saul. He used Ananias to help Saul. He used the other followers of Jesus. He used Barnabas, normal, everyday people, flawed people, people who made mistakes. And then Saul became Paul. He writes much of the Bible, and as he's encouraging his students, his friends, telling his story. It still encourages us today. It still gives us guidance on what we should do today. It takes these everyday people, and we were able to carry out God's plans to help people. We all have stories to tell. We all have experiences to share, and Mo groups allow us to do that. Mo groups, we need people there cheering us on, supporting us, helping us out. We help Mo groups, but Mo groups are only as great as the people that are there. We need you to ask questions. We need you to share your thoughts. We need you there. We need you to help people win. We need you to give people the opportunity to help you too, and that comes through being in a Mo group. If you hear these different things and you hear about these stories about Mo groups and how they've helped other people, and you're saying, well, I haven't really been a part of that. Well, this is your opportunity to change that. It's your opportunity to do that. Our challenge this week is if you're not going to a Mo group is to find one. They start the week of September 11th, and it's great to check out where they are, find the location, the night that works best for you, and then say, you know what, I'm going to go. I'm going to show up. If you're a student, I'd recommend Amplify. It's great for that, and you go and find, there you go.
Thank you, Jax Beth.
And find that group that can be your place. It might be scary, but just try it. Just do it. For those who are already going to a Mo group, it's easy to kind of check out and say, yeah, I'm good. I've done that. I've checked that box. Well, this is your opportunity to show up and be vulnerable, to be open, to let other people help you, but then find ways where you can help other people, where you can be there to help people win. Who cares if you're there or not? A Mo group cares about you. We care about you. God cares about you. So stop trying to do faith alone. Let's pray.